We ran from the ash of our worlds. For centuries, we only knew the cold between stars. Home was a fading memory, a dream of blue skies. We carried that dream in our hearts. It was a fragile, flickering candle against an endless night. Our journey was not a migration. It was a retreat, a desperate, unending flight from a shadow that ate suns. We were the last echo of humanity. We lived in the deep black. The void was our constant companion. Our children learned star charts before they learned poetry. They knew the hum of the engine was the sound of life. Silence was the sound of death. We told them stories of Earth, of green grass and warm rain. They sounded like myths. Even to us, the great arcs drifted onward, each one a metal world, scarred and weary. They carried our collected history. They carried our last, desperate hope. We were a fleet of ghosts, chasing a dawn that might not exist. Our only certainty was the terror that followed. It was a darkness that left nothing behind, not even dust. Our pursuer was a patient, cosmic dread. It had no name we knew, so we gave it one: the silence. It did not communicate. It did not negotiate. It simply erased. We watched on our long-range sensors. We saw it consume the light of entire galaxies. A star system would be there one moment, then gone. A patch of absolute nothing. The silence was not a fleet of ships. It was more like a wave, a tide of nullity that washed over creation. It moved with a purpose we could not understand. Its hunger seemed infinite. It craved the energy of stars, the gravity of planets, the very fabric of reality. It was the universe's final predator, and it was hunting us. We did not know why. We were so small, a tiny flicker of life in a vast, dying cosmos. Why would it care about us? What could we possibly offer its boundless appetite? We had no answers. We only had the cold dread that seeped through our hulls, the certainty that it would never stop. Generations were born in these metal shells. Our arcs were our only homes. Our children knew no world but this one, a world of corridors and recycled air, of nutrient paste and simulation screens. They were a new kind of human, forged in the crucible of endless flight, stronger than we were and sadder. Every hull plate held a memory of escape. This dent was from the debris of Cygnus. That scorch mark was from a star's last breath. We patched our ships with hope and scrap metal. The walls were our history books, our gravestones. We walked past the names of the lost every day. They were a constant, silent reminder of the cost of survival. We tried to preserve what we could: art, music, science, the things that made us human. But it was hard. How do you teach a child about a sunset when their only sun is a light bulb in the ceiling? We did our best. We told the old stories. We sang the old songs. We swore we would not become as empty as the void outside. Our fuel was nearly gone. The fusion cores were running on fumes. For centuries, we had jumped from system to system, always one step ahead of the creeping dark. Each jump was a violent, wrenching tear through space. It took a tremendous toll on our ships and on our souls. Now, the well was almost dry. The fleet's engineers gave their final report. One last jump. That was all we had left. One more roll of the cosmic dice. We could not see what was ahead. Our sensors were blind past a certain distance. The next jump into the unknown could be our end. We could materialize inside a star, or in the heart of the silence itself. The choice was simple: die here, waiting for the end, or die there, chasing a final, fleeting chance. There was no real debate. Humanity did not stand still. We ran. It was the only thing we knew how to do. The navigators plotted the final course. The entire fleet held its breath. This was it, the last drop of hope. We discovered an impossible object ahead. The jump was different. Not the usual chaos of folding space. It was smooth, almost gentle. When the viewport cleared, we saw why. We were not in empty space. We were staring at a wall, a structure so vast it defied physics. It was a derelict of unimaginable scale. It looked like a shard of black glass, floating in the void. It was not reflecting the distant starlight. It was absorbing it. The object was easily the size of a small moon, jagged and broken in places, but clearly artificial. Its surface was covered in geometric patterns, lines and circles that seemed to shift as we watched. This was no ship. It was a monument to a forgotten god. Our sensors went wild. They screamed with data we could not interpret. The object was old, older than any star in this galaxy, perhaps older than the universe itself. It radiated a strange, quiet energy. It felt like waiting, like a great beast asleep, a scar in space-time, a silent, brooding mystery in the path of our final escape. We guided our tired fleet inside its maw. The enemy was closing in fast behind us. The readings from our aft sensors were terrifying. The silence was coming. Not just a whisper now, but a roar. A wave of cosmic erasure was moments away. There was no time to ponder the mystery before us. We had to act. A section of the great derelict shimmered. An opening appeared. It was not a door. It was a hole in reality, a perfect circle of deeper blackness. It beckoned to us. Was it a trap? A final, cruel joke from the universe? Maybe. But the alternative was certain annihilation. We had a choice between the monster we knew and the one we did not. Some choice. The command was given. The fleet, our little convoy of survivors, moved forward. We flew towards the opening. One by one, our arcs crossed the threshold. The feeling was bizarre, like passing through cool water. For a moment, every light on our ships went out. Every engine fell silent. Then, we were through, and the portals snapped shut behind us, leaving the silence outside. Within its walls, we found a silent testament. The inside was as vast as the outside promised, a cavern of impossible geometry. The air, if you could call it that, was still. No hum of machinery, no flicker of lights, just an oppressive, heavy silence. Our ship lights cut through the darkness. They revealed walkways, towers, and structures that twisted into the gloom. We sent out survey drones, cautious and slow. They mapped the immediate area. They found a central chamber, a nexus, and in that nexus, they found the library. It was not made of books. It was a forest of glowing crystals. Each one pulsed with a soft, internal light. They were memory cores, millions of them, a silent testament to lost worlds. We approached one carefully. A technician in an environment suit reached out. Her glove touched the crystal's surface, and the chamber came alive. Holograms flickered into existence all around us. Images, sounds, and languages flooded the space. We were standing in a ghost library. It held the final records of 1,000 different species, each one a story of a civilization now gone. We learned the terrible truth from their echoes. We spent days, then weeks, sifting through the records. The ghost library was a chorus of the dead. We met species of living gas, beings made of pure sound, creatures of silicon and light. They were all brilliant, all unique, and all of them were gone. Their final records all told the same story. They showed us the silence. In their own languages, with their own sciences, they described a force that hunted not life, but potential. It did not consume planets for fuel. It consumed civilizations for their spark, the spark of creation, the ability to make art, to ask questions, to dream of a future. That was its true food. The pattern of ruin was undeniable. The silence was a blight on the cosmos, a metaphysical cancer. It sought out any culture that reached a certain point of creative or intellectual bloom. Then it would descend and snuff it out, leaving nothing behind. It wanted a universe that was quiet, ordered, and empty. We were not just running from a predator, we were running from a universal censor. This place was never a fortress or a weapon. We explored deeper into the moon-sized structure. The crystal library was just the antechamber. At its heart, we found the truth of this place. It was not a ship. It was not a station. It was an instrument. A vast, complex machine designed for a single purpose. A purpose that was both terrifying and beautiful. The final records of the builders told us everything. They were a species of immense power. They had foreseen the coming of the silence. They knew they could not fight it with warships or cannons. The silence did not bleed. It did not break. So they built this place, a refuge and a tool. We began to call it the Soul Forge. It was designed to amplify the spirit, to take the non-physical essence of a species, their collective consciousness, and turn it into a wave of energy. A broadcast of pure being. It was a weapon of last resort, a final shout into the darkness. But the builders had waited too long. The silence came for them before they could use it. They left their creation behind, a loaded gun waiting for a hand to fire it. We could flee again or make our final stand. The debate was short and brutal. Some argued for escape. The Soul Forge could give our ships the power for another jump, a leap far greater than any before. We could run to another galaxy, hide for another 10,000 years. It was the sensible, logical choice, the choice of survival. But we were tired of surviving. We were tired of running. For centuries, humanity had been prey. We looked at the faces of our children, born in the dark, afraid of the quiet. We saw the ghosts in the library, 1,000 species who ran, 1,000 species who died alone. We would not be another silent echo in this tomb. The line is drawn here. The decision was unanimous. We would stay. We would fight, not with lasers or missiles, but with the very thing the silence hunted, our spirit, our soul, our messy, chaotic, beautiful humanity. We would stand here, in this ancient place, and we would show the universe that we were more than just survivors. We were a fire that would not be put out. The hunter at the gate sensed our decision. The space outside the Soul Forge began to change. The distant stars, our only comfort, began to vanish. One by one, they were blotted out. The silence had arrived. Their fleet blotted out the stars. It was a swarm of anti-creation, holes in space where ships should be, patches of absolute blackness that drank the light. Our sensors could barely track them. They were not solid objects. They were mobile voids, each one a tiny piece of the greater hunger. They arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around the Soul Forge, a cage of nothingness. The great hunt was meant to end here. We were cornered, trapped, exactly where we had chosen to be. There was a profound stillness, a waiting. The silence was savoring this moment, the final extinguishment of another upstart spark. It had done this 1,000,000 times before. To it, we were just another meal, another brief flicker of light before the eternal dark. It did not know what we had found. It did not know what we had become. We prepared to unleash our one true weapon, We connected our ships to the Soul Forge. Its systems woke from their long slumber. A low hum filled the vast structure. A soft blue light emanated from the walls. It pulsed in time with our own heartbeats. The ancient machine was listening. It was linking with every man, woman, and child in our fleet. It was a strange sensation, a feeling of connection that transcended words. We could feel each other's thoughts, not as an invasion, but as a chorus. The fear of a child, the determination of a soldier, the quiet wisdom of an elder, the hope of a new parent. All of it flowed together, our individual lives merging into one great river. This was not a weapon of war. It was a symphony of everything we are. The forge began to draw on our memories, our first steps, our first loves, our greatest triumphs, our most painful failures, every painting we ever made, every song we ever sang, every story we ever told. All of it was fuel for the fire we were about to unleash. We broadcast our soul across the darkness. The captain gave the final command. Let them hear us. The Soul Forge activated. It did not fire a beam of light. It did not launch a missile. It sang. It sang a song made of human experience. A wave of pure, concentrated life erupted from the station. A symphony of defiance. It was the joy of 1,000 holidays. The sorrow of 1,000,000 goodbyes. The quiet satisfaction of a job well done. The fury of injustice. The laughter of children playing in a park they had never seen. The taste of chocolate. The feeling of sunlight on skin. The gritty, stubborn, irrational hope that drove us across the stars. All of it in a single, overwhelming wave. The silence recoiled from the sound of our spirit. The wave of our soul slammed into the fleet of nothingness. And for the first time, the silence felt something. It could not process what it was receiving. It fed on emptiness, on entropy, on the heat death of worlds. We gave it the opposite. We gave it life. Raw, chaotic, and utterly overwhelming. The black voids wavered. They fractured. They could not consume our song. It was poison to them. The focused energy of 1,000,000,000 souls was more than they could handle. It was not a weapon that destroyed their ships. It was an idea that broke their minds. The concept of hope was a paradox to them. The idea of love, a logical impossibility. They scattered. They fled from the light we had become. They are scattered and confused, but not gone. The battle was over in an instant. The Black Fleet broke apart. The individual voids fled in every direction, disoriented, wounded in a way they had never been before. The space around the Soul Forge was clear. The stars returned, brighter and more beautiful than we had ever remembered. We had done it. We had faced the end of all things, and we had made it blink. A quiet fell over our fleet. Not the heavy, dead quiet of the void, but a peaceful, earned silence. We had finally earned a moment of true peace. We looked out at the starfield. For the first time, it did not look like an escape route. It looked like a home. We saw a nearby star, a brilliant yellow sun. Its light streamed through our viewports, warming the cold metal of our ships. It was the first time in centuries that we had seen a sun without fear, without the shadow of the silence looming behind it. We watched it together, as one people, and we called it our first sunrise. Our purpose is now clear. We stopped running. The words felt strange on our tongues. For so long, motion had been our only purpose, survival our only creed. Now, that was over. We stood on the bridge of our flagship, looking out at the star-filled sky. It was no longer a threat. It was a promise, a field of possibilities. The Soul Forge was ours now, a legacy we had inherited, a weapon that fought with life instead of death. We knew the silence was still out there, wounded, but not destroyed. It would recover. It would hunt again. But now, it would not find a universe of scattered, terrified prey. It would find resistance. We will carry this fire to others hiding in the dark. Our mission was no longer to save ourselves. It was to save everyone else, to find the other flickers of light, the other civilizations cowering in the shadows, to bring them the song of the soul forge, to teach them that they did not have to run. We would build a chorus, a grand orchestra of life that would fill the void with its music. The running was done. Our real journey was about to begin.